Welcome everyone! In this video, we are going to be diving into my top 5 best teams for the Great League. There aren't too many changes in Season 14, but the list has some new additions that I think you guys may like. We have currently one more week of Great League before the cycle resets, so we are going to dive into some very powerful teams for the Great League. I figured I'd let the first week have its run, let everyone have their fun with their early season spice. But the second week, I think we all tend to get a little bit more serious about the climb. So we are going to have a look at some serious teams that will help you guys achieve that. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. All right, guys, here we go. Team number 1. Surprise, surprise. Guys, honestly, I don't think there has been one single season since I've been doing my top 5 best teams where this powerful, time-tested core has not been at the top of the list. It consistently floats within the top, definitely the top 2, but even the top 3 of my top 5 best teams. And nothing has changed for Season 14. Still as powerful as ever, and it is none other than the Bastion Metacham core. So Team 1 leads with Basti, and actually Metacham is the safe swap, given the circumstances with all of those overpowered owls flying all over the Great League, and Trevenant is the closer. So generally, in seasons past, before Knocked Owl became an absolute monster, Medi would be the closer, and we would have classically Sableye on the safe swap. But things have changed. Medi's the safe swap on this team now because Medi actually has the ability to fight back against Knocked Owl with the threat of the ice punches, and it's actually quite close. That's how powerful Metacham is. And then we all know by now, especially if you tune into this channel quite regularly, Trevenant can absolutely close the game strong. Let's have a look at the scorecard here. And look at that, my goodness. It never ceases to amazes me. Yeah, the Metacham Bastion core quite strong. We get an A for coverage, A for bulk, B for safety, and an A for consistency. Yeah, not bad, I would say. So let's have a look at these matchups. So I think we all know how to run this team by now. It has been around for seasons upon seasons. The only change and shakeup here to adjust for the meta shift is that Metacham is now the safe swap. So all losing leads, you are swapping out immediately into Metacham. You will likely draw out that owl, and that's exactly what you want to do because Trevenant has virtually no play against Knocked Owl. You can actually pressure and fight back with Medi with the ice punches. You will likely not win that, and that's fine. You just come back in with your Bastion, clear the owl, and hopefully Trevenant up a shield should shine in the end. That's how this team is run. Simple, yet powerful and wildly effective. There's just no doubt about that. There isn't really anything major to go over. We've all seen this team. We know this team. Many of you are actually probably running it right this very minute. So nothing really to beat you over the head with or anything too crazy with this team. The only difference is Medi is the safe swap. So that is team number 1. Bastion lead, Medi on the safe swap, and Trevenant in the back to close the game strong. So that's team number 1. Let's have a look at team number 2. All right, here we go. Team number 2, another very powerful team for the Great League. It is Stunfisk on the lead, Knocked Owl on the safe swap, and Altaria in the back to close the game strong. Stunfisk double flyers, very powerful, very strong. Altaria and Stunfisk make for a very powerful core. And this is a team that I have featured in the past, and it has been on previous top 5 best teams lists, and not much has really changed. This team is still very strong, and I actually ran a variation of this team early on this season, but the only difference is I had Lantern on the lead. But that doesn't mean anything really. I just wanted to have some fun with a Lantern lead. Stunfisk, I would still highly recommend if you're serious about climbing with this team, and that is something you can definitely do. Let's have a look at the scorecard here. And how about that, guys? It's hard to get a score like this with a classic ABB line. That just goes to show how powerful all three of these Pokemon are. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, A for safety, and an A for consistency. You don't get much better than that. Let's have a look at these matchups here. So, as we all know by now, Stunfisk, a very powerful lead option to run in the Great League. And this team is pretty straightforward. It's ABB, baby! So any neutral or losing lead, you're swapping in the Noctowl to draw out a potential Steel type so that Altaria can shine in the end. Very simple, yet wildly effective. There aren't any major core breakers, really, for this particular team. It shines beautifully in the Open Great League, especially right now. It's a hyper-modern line, and the fact that it's ABB makes it that much more effective. So that is team number 2. Amazing scorecard. I'm trying to see. I don't want to leave anything out, but yeah, this team, pretty darn good. Next to flawless in terms of an ABB-style team. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. These matchups are you're swapping out on neutral or losing leads into Noctowl to draw out a Steel type or even perhaps a Ice type so that Altaria can close for you. So yeah, very simple yet wildly effective. That is team number 2. Stunfisk on the lead, Noctowl on the safe swap, and Altaria in the back to bring it home for you. So with all that said, that's team number 2. Let's have a look at team number 3. All right, here we go. Team number 3. Another very powerful team making yet another appearance. It's back from last season, season 13, and it is now back on the list for season 14. It is none other than Noctowl on the lead, Metacham on the safe swap, and Lantern in the back to close the game strong. It is up a spot though. When I built this team last season, it landed at team number 4, but it is now team number 3. Arguably the most heavily utilized team comp in the entire Great League. You can literally run this team in any order. However, I think the most effective order would be leading Noctowl, safe swapping Medi, and closing with Lantern. Although the popular iteration and variation is leading with Medi, which is fine because Metacham is very strong, very versatile, very powerful. So a lot of people are very comfortable leading with it, but I think the most effective alignment would be leading Noctowl. It gives it sort of an ABB dynamic, as in both Pokemon weak in the back to most notably Trevenant. And if you safe swap Medi, you will draw out that Trevenant or maybe even a Venusaur. And that way Lantern won't have to see the grass type. That's how the team is designed. But again, it's so powerful that you can run it in any order you want. Let's have a look at these matchups here. And identical to team number 2, we get a B for coverage, A for bulk, A for safety, and an A for consistency. No wonder everyone's running this team. Holy smokes, it's quite strong. So again, it's sort of an ABB style, but it's really technically more of a balanced team. You're really only your 2 Pokemon in the back are really only weak to Trevenant and a Venusaur to a much lesser extent. So if you're met with a Steel type or an Ice type, you're going to be going in the Metacham. Try and flip switch if you can, but if they have a Trevenant or Venusaur in the back, that's likely what they will meet you with. Of course, that's why Medi is the safe swap, because it can actually fight back. It has grass type coverage, which is why it is the safe swap on this team. If you run it with Medi on the lead, that's definitely much more of a balanced alignment. You are ABA weak to a Trevenant, but I think the rise of Noctowl has all but scared away or deterred a lot of people from using Trevenant, but not me. I've been using Trevenant quite a bit, and I've been racking up the wins. Trevenant's not dead. You just have to know know how to use it the right way on the right team, but I digress. So in this alignment, I think this is the most effective. All three Pokemon struggle with Altaria, so Altaria is the biggest obstacle. It's going to take a team effort, but all three Pokemon can triple team Altaria. It's going to take a team effort, but you don't want to stay in there for the long haul against Altaria unless you're making a hard team read. And that may be appropriate because a lot of Altaria leads have at least one steel type in the back. So you may be safe to just stay in there, play out the zeros. You will lose, but the Altaria's health will be quite compromised. And then you are free to come in with your Metacham and dispatch the Altaria. You could even come in with Lantern. That might be safer, actually. Because Altaria will be forced to go for a neutral Moonblast, whereas Metacham won't be forced to shield a Sky Attack. So that's how I would play Altaria. It's a team effort, but it's really going to come down to your team read. If you're making a hard team read, you can stay in there, play out the zeros. If you're unsure, you'll want to chip and dip, and that's how I would play that. I think you would still dip in the Medi on that because you do outpace to those ice punches, which hit pretty hard, and with the chip damage it'll force a shield or threaten to one-shot them. So that's how I would tackle Altaria. And let's see here, yeah, I think that's Altaria is the biggest obstacle with this team. So yeah, that is team number 3. Noctowl on the lead, Medi on the safe swap, and Lantern in the back to close the game strong. And with all that said, let's have a look at team number 4. All right, my friends, here we go. Team number 4, another very powerful team for the Great League. We've got Altaria on the lead, Vigoroth on the safe swap, and Registeel in the back to close the game strong. So basically, this is the Altaria Registeel core, which is quite powerful. It's near perfect coverage. You really don't get much better in terms of two Pokemon that complement each other beautifully. In terms of the safe swap, I went with Vigoroth, but you could go double as well if you have one. That's the closest thing to Vigoroth. It really depends on if you have one available. So you can definitely go double if you have it. Vigoroth is just much more widely available to most people. And to a lesser extent, you could also go Lickitung. Now, hear me out on this. Lickitung is here to draw out a Trevenant. I almost went Lickitung, but I knew that would make a lot of people's heads explode. But Vigoroth, Lickitung, double, they all serve the same purpose, and they are all interchangeable. It's just what you're comfortable with, maybe even what you're seeing at your specific elo. So those three, all interchangeable. The sweet spot here is really the core, which is Altaria and Registeel. You want to draw out a Trevenant so that Registeel can shine in the end. That's how the team is designed. And Lickitung in that spot, a lot of people will counter swap by just looking at the typing in the top corner, and the next thing they know, they've got their Trevenant in on a Lickitung. That's where Lickitung can be effective. But I know with Noctowl, Lickitung has become less of a factor in the Great League, let's just say. But I have found some uses for it in my own gameplay. But I digress yet again. So that's how the team is designed. The safe swap is here to draw out the Trevenant. If it is on your opponent's team, if it is lurking in the back, you want to draw it out with your safe swap so that Registeel can shine in the end. That's how the team is designed. Let's have a look at these scorecard here. Excuse me, getting ahead of myself. And not bad. Very, very solid scorecard for team number 4. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, B for safety, and an A for consistency. Very solid for team number 4 here. Let's have a look at these matchups. Holy smokes, Altaria. Oh my goodness. So powerful, so strong. Wins lead a lot in the Great League. You're just really swapping out on those ice and steel type leads. That's all you're swapping out on, and the fairies, of course. And Vigoroth. I think the Vigoroth is just very underutilized these days in the Open Great League. It's kind of been replaced by Double for those who have one, and that is fine. like I said, you could replace Vigoroth with either Double or Lickitung. You could even go Swampert and safe swap Registeel. That's much less flexible for a number of reasons, but that is a very good team as well. But the core components are Altaria and Registeel. But if you do go Swampert, Swampert is the closer. Let's make no doubt about that. Registeel is the safe swap if you do go that route. But if you go this route and you have Registeel as the closer, you can change out Vigoroth for Double or Lickitung. They all work just fine. In fact, they all get the same exact scorecard. So yeah. Ice and Steel, that's mostly what we see with the Charm nerf, but of course, obviously, you're swapping out on the Charmers as well. Into Vigoroth, you want to draw out a potential Trevenant that may be lurking in the back, and that will set up Registeel to close the game for you. So that is how the team is designed. Nothing really to hammer home here. That's all you're swapping out on. Otherwise, you're staying in, and you are going to Dragon Breath whatever is there into oblivion. So that is team number 4. Altaria on the lead, Vigoroth on the safe swap, and Registeel in the back to close the game strong. So with all that said, that is team number 4. Let's have a look at team number 5. All right, guys, here we go. Last but certainly not least, team number 5, a classic team comp that I have utilized quite a bit on this channel. I am quite fond of this particular team comp here. It leads with Trevenant on the lead, Stunfisk on the safe swap, and Registeel in the back to close the game strong for you. Trevenant double steel, quite powerful, quite strong. You can see this team with Bastion in the place of Registeel, although Registeel is much more flexible and dynamic, and generally a better option than Basti. They both serve the same purpose, by the way. Let's have a look at this scorecard here. And not bad at all. We get a B for coverage, A for bulk, which is saying a lot when you've got Trevenant on your team. My goodness, that is insane to see. What we do get an A for bulk nonetheless, A for safety, and a B for consistency. Very strong and solid scorecard for team number 5. Let's have a look at these matchups. So Trevenant on the lead, very strong, very powerful, keeps Metacham in check, keeps Lantern in check, has some very strong play against Bastion and Stunfisk as well, and much to my delight, keeps Swampert in check as well, which is also a very common lead. Handles Azumarill. Trevenant still has tons and tons of use, even in this Knocked Owl dominant league. You just want to have some coverage for it, and we do in spades with our 2 very strong and bulky steel types that come in the form of both Stunfisk and Registeel. They both handle Knocked Owl quite well. And that is exactly what you're going to do if you're met with one on the lead. You're swapping in the Stunfisk. On the flying type leads like Knocked Owl and Altaria, those are the 2 most common ones. You will also swap in the Stunfisk on the Sableye leads. However, you could stay in there a little bit on Sableye and chip with a Seed Bomb. And if you're really good, you'll catch that foul play onto your Stunfisk and play on from there. That's how I play Sableye with this team. Trevenant lead, that's a tricky one. The way I generally play it is I will build only up to the Seed Bomb, go for the Seed Bomb, and they will likely let it go. That's going to do enough chip damage that will allow you to shield once and farm down, allowing you to control the alignment. That's the key with the Trevenant mirror matchup on the lead. That's how I play it. Works out beautifully. Pretty simple, standard ABB style team, but those are the 2 matchups that I wanted to highlight with this particular team. Everything else is very much straightforward. You're swapping out on Knocked Owl and Altaria. That's about it. And Bastion as well. You don't want to stay in there. That is a very IV-dependent matchup. It's very risky, and you are risking a lot of HP and shields staying in there. The best way to play that, chip with a Shadow Ball, and then go right into Stunfisk and play on from there. You want to preserve shields for Trevenant if you do have to swap out, because it's likely that Trevenant will have some very strong play on what they have in the back on a Bastion lead, most notably Metacham. So that's how I would play that. Pretty straightforward. Simple yet wildly effective. Very good scorecard. That is team number 5. Trevenant on the lead. G-Fisk on the safe swap. And Reggie Steele in the back to close the game for you. And that about wraps it up for my top 5 best teams for Season 14 of Pokemon Go Battle League. Not a whole lot has changed, but that does have its benefits, although I'm sure most of us, myself included, would have loved to have seen some new Pokemon get some more relevance. But hey, it is what it is. It is just still the Great League after all. It's not the most popular league for nothing. It gives people the strongest chance to have the most success in Go Battle League. So should still be fun. We'll have tons of specialty cups alongside the Open Great League if you guys so choose to dip your toe into any specialty meta that may be accompanying it. So yeah, I'm not going to keep rambling. I'm rambling at this point. Guys, I had a blast. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, I thank you for watching and keep up the grind. Thank you, guys.